And back on another Wednesday night to talk some Major League Baseball, just past 10 p.m. Central, so 11 where my buddy Brandon is. One short, at least for the beginning of this one. I think he may try and pop in later. So hopefully we'll see Rob tonight since we won't see him tomorrow. But if not, Rob, hope you're doing well, and hope all your commitments today and tomorrow have gone and continue to go as they should. And Brandon, so we'll get right into it. I don't understand, and I think something's wrong with me as a fan, because I shouldn't feel distraught with an 8-3 start, but I think it's the manner in which we've lost a couple of these games. It's like you can't rely on this pitching unless they think that they've got literally the 2020s version of Graddick's. Starting already. Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, and John Smoltz. Unless we think that we've got the American League version of that 30 years later, you can't expect that three runs a game is going to save you. And right now, you've got Jose Caballero, who's turned into, after being a stolen base merchant last year, has been, and I mean, you mentioned it, and put it very well, where speed is the tool that's most useless if there's no contact to go with it, unless you want to be a sort of a late game like Greg Allen type or Antoine Richardson type, but that's not what he's got to be right now. And it got to the point where literally we had Ryan McMahon, who's never played shortstop in his life as a Major League Baseball player, making the debut there tonight, or I guess earlier today, because literally Jose Caballero was that bad. And to put McMahon there when even he offensively has been as useless as a rubber beak on a woodpecker has been, it kind of just shows you where they're at, to the point where fans are literally frothing at the mouth to get Anthony Volpe back. And I told you a couple weeks ago that I thought Anthony Volpe was an X factor for this year, and holy crap, is that now more true than ever, because the hole at shortstop, literally and figuratively, appears to be increasing by the day. Although I will say Ryan McMahon did not look bad out there today for the two errors that are infield committed. He was neither one of them, so at least there's that. And I'll go to you before we get these comments rolling.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Usually it's me that has that outlook, but I'm surprised that for you, for one, from that, are actually nervous about the or you're like, you got that little doom and gloom, look at it. But no, I'm nervous too, because it's like, they're off to a good start record wise, but it doesn't look like it, and that's
it feels like a house of cards almost.
Yeah, it's just they're like, when they're winning by the most razor thin margin, and it's just like, the A's are not a pushover. We know that. We've known that.
Yeah, we done said that before the regular season even started.
But the thing is, the New York Yankees with what they are, should you should, I'm not saying you should sweep them, but you should have won both games so far in the series, and you should have won by more than the 2 runs you won by last night, and you definitely should have won tonight, because you had Severino on the rope.
Mm-hmm.
First inning, he threw what was like 32, 33 pitches, and you only got 2 runs. You got 2 runs out of it.
I'm going to add on to that, because this is the thing that it's so encouraging but so discouraging at the same time. Severino walked 5 batters tonight, which means we drew 5 walks off of him. But that also means that's 5 basically free runners that we got, and we scored 2 runs the whole damn game. So, and this is a game where now, I mean, Will Warren has kind of been like this era is Michael Pineda, where he could give you 1 run, 8 innings, or he could turn into a tire fire by the time he gets 5 outs. But he held it down for us today. He did everything that he needed to keep us in position to win that game. And this team, every time I looked up, It was, if I had to, look away to do something or whatever. Every time I looked back at the screen, they were threatening again, and by they I do not mean New York. They were threatening again offensively, and again, to our credit, pretty much we snuffed out almost every one of those until the very end of the ninth. But even so, when you get past the eighth inning, or get like to the seventh and eighth inning, you can't keep seeing this again and again and again. You're like, you just know this. We should have more than 2 runs by now, and it's one of those things where there's really not anybody who I would say has been painfully struggling to the point outside of McMahon and Caballero, but there's also been nobody really outside of Rice who's really been taking us and kind of being that hot air balloon. Stanton did it for the first 5 or 6 games, but I mean, come on, 43 years old and can't run. You realistically, that was always going to be something that was nice when it happened, but could never be something that you relied upon. Yeah. Rice has continued to be the guy that you and I both thought he was, although he had an error tonight, which can't happen. But
which really to me isn't even his fault. But these guys got to start making these damn throws on the line to first base. You got to stop skipping dirt.
Well, see, here's the problem: is our infield now. And you said this a few weeks ago, and I credit you for being ahead on this because you were ahead of me on this. Our infield now freaks the hell out of me.
Yeah.
That is now where I'm concerned that our undoing is going to be. I'm not concerned about our outfield. I'm not concerned about us behind the plate. I trust Austin Wells, and even though people don't love JC Escarra, I think he's one of the better backup catchers in the league. And in a pinch, you can always bring over Ben Rice if necessary. Yeah. But that freaking infield between Jazz Chisholm, who I am so beyond over it with, and we talked about Caballero, we talked about McMahon, Ben Rice, again, like you said, not really his fault. He doesn't have a lot to work with when, again, first baseman is often relying on who is relied on to pick up, mistakes from the other guys, and they've pretty much put him through the paces these first couple weeks. But something's got to improve on that infield. And to his credit, Ryan McMahon, like I mentioned, I think we both say he played a pretty clean game at shortstop. But as somebody who's literally never played there before, do we know this is going to go as smoothly as, let's say, Chisholm playing third seemed to for a period of time? Like, does it get to a point where by playing, and that begs the question, does that become something that they look to go back to? Do they look to go back to trying to put Jazz out there at third because they're kicking McMahon in to short, and then do they go Rosario at second? Does that become the new alignment now? Because it, like you pointed out earlier, Rosario's a natural second baseman. I know technically Jazz is a natural second baseman as well, but quite frankly, he's played third base the best out of anybody that is currently on that roster, which is crazy to think of. And I've had my issues with Jazz. I mean, I just blasted him a few minutes ago, but he plays a damn good third base.
He does.
And I cannot watch while we've got everything going on with this pitching staff that seems to be continuing to be positive. Even Cam Schlittler yesterday, who started out uncharacteristically a little bit, definitely not having everything that he needed, got through it and ended up once again doing exactly what he needed to put the team in position to do the comeback and win, which ultimately they did do, and I want to give them their flowers for that. But it's just it feels like there's meat left on the bone with too many of these games, both wins and losses, and not something that you can. And again, people will tell me, and I'm somebody who often will say this. I'm somebody who has said, it's April, it's early, it's one thing or another, but every game, there's no game in April that counts more or less in the standings than a game in September or October.
Yeah.
Every game counts. And we both remember back a decade ago in 2016, an 11-16 start in April ended up changing the course of both the season and the franchise because it led to ultimately the sell-off at the deadline that led to trading Chapman, trading Miller, trading Nova, and trading Beltran. So, and then later on trading McCann later on. Yeah, I don't know. I gave you a kind of like an idea of an alignment there. Am I crazy for pitching that, or am I going a little too DEFCON 1 with the infield here, or what do you think?
No, because they gotta find something that works, and early on in the spring, at least defensively, it looked fine. Having McMahon, Cabby, Jazz at second and Rice at first.
That's the danger of biting too hard on what you see in spring training.
Yeah, and it looked fine. I mean, all four of those guys were playing really good. I mean, Rice is fine to me still, but he has his moments. But he's still learning the position. And he looks better, at least in the early going here, than he did last year. So he's already improving at first.
Of everybody in the infield, Rice is the one by whom I'm, by leaps and bounds, the least concerned. And forget about not being the same, not even close. It's not even in the same stratosphere.
Yeah, and it's like, but they really got to find something that works. I mean, because
although he needs to get better at the way he handles ABS, because geez.
Well, yeah. But what's tough is especially in games like tonight, and this has been kind of a theme in the few losses this year, but even in some of the wins, where they're getting late in these games and they might be tied or up by a run and they need a knockout blow, and they still, this is 11 games in, or 10, 11 games in, and
today was the 11th game.
And just like the last, really since COVID, like they'll get guy like it happened even in that first inning pissed me off. Everybody's like, oh yeah, Sevy's got 30 plus pitches, and like I'm thinking about the hitting for once, but because the defense, they're gonna have to figure it out, whether it's leaving McMahon is short and putting Rosario at second and Jazz at third, like you said, or they keep it like it was tonight, because I think Rosario is better than what he showed tonight.
I have a question when you're done with this.
And then, or you just go back to Rosario being your pinch hit bench guy, like he's best served, and having McMahon at third, Volpe at short when he comes back, and then Jazz at second. Which I think they ultimately are probably going to. That's probably what the alignment's going to look like, I think. But,
yeah, I do know that they said Volpe's taken the next step to getting back to being back, which thank God.
But just from a hitting standpoint, because the errors kind of suck and whatnot, but they haven't really come back to bite them yet.
Volpe at 60% of what he's at 60% of Volpe's ceiling, he's a better hitter than anything they've rolled out this year at shortstop.
And that's what worries me, because everybody's like, oh, the 7, 8, 9 hitters. I'm like, no, the 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters in this lineup there's four out of the 9 hitters in this. Really, even 5, because Trent Grisham's not hitting either. So you have 5 hitters in this lineup right now that aren't hitting.
It's been Rice, Judge, Stanton, and who?
And Belly.
And then you might add Rosario on the days that he plays. I guess 5.5.
It's tough, but it's like, this was a lineup that was supposed to be like your 1 through 6 or your 1 through 7 was supposed to be deep. These were all guys that were supposed to hit, and right now you only have pretty much 4 out of 9 guys hitting, and it's like, I mean, yeah, you're winning games. And yeah, it's still early, so you are
largely, but like you and I both said, you are largely winning games off, shut down pitching.
It's really challenging.
I can't even say pitching and defense, because even the defense is letting the staff down. Because what's crazy is that we've leaked too many times from the bullpen too. It's literally literally all of this comes back to the starting rotation is the reason why we've won 8 of 11 games.
we did, and we said in the offseason that if this starting rotation is as good as it looks on paper,
Damn
the starting
right.
the starting rotation can be the best in baseball. And so far, it's showing that it is. But the thing is, you just can't like. And this is what I'm worrying about. And this is why everybody's like, oh, wait till Cole comes back, wait till Rodon comes back. I'm like, but can they wait
We
that
don't have
long?
that time. Well, we
There's
just
no
said the same
time.
thing.
Like the thing is, they really can't. I understand that they're still going to come back in the first half of the season, but the bullpen is already exhausted. The
Yeah.
starting the start You only have 4 starters right now, and the thing is that's what's tough is like Warren's not bad as a 5th starter, but because you only have 4 starters, it's tough seeing him go out there and struggle to get through 5, knowing your bullpen has to get the other 4 innings like they did tonight. So it's you can't ask that every night. And the thing is, they're like, oh, the good thing is, yeah, you're getting, well, I guess it's good, but he's coming back, on Friday. So what are you going to get out of Luis Heel? We don't know. He's looked like garbage in spring. He looks garbage in his rehab starts. So I'm like,
I pray, and I know that they're not going to do this, but I pray that they start him out of the bullpen.
I think they have to, because somebody has to go out there. Like, I don't know if it's like, I was having this discussion tonight with people on Twitter, because I heard half the Yankee Twitter saying Will Warren is not that great of a starter, and half of them saying he's not bad for a 5th, and I'm somewhere in the middle.
I think there's room to say both of those are somewhat true.
Like, I've always been a guy where I just believe that Will Warren is not best served as your 5th starter. Will Warren should be one of your 2 long relief guys. That's always what I've said about Will Warren. I would rather Will Warren go out there if your regular starter is struggling and you only can get through 4. I would want Will Warren to go out there for the 5th, 6th, maybe
like a
7th.
Chad Green type of role.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
or Luis Sessa.
Exactly. But I think he can be better than those guys were, because Will Warren to me is okay, but it seems like every single start, it's like he'll get through. Like, the first inning, he'll run into a little bit of trouble, but he'll settle in and get out of it. 2nd inning, fine. 3rd inning, fine. But by the 4th inning, the wheels start coming off, and I'm like,
it's because he doesn't. I mean, we both have said this. His stuff isn't great enough where he can just rear back and just put one in there, whether it's a fastball, a breaking thing, whatever. So he's laboring through. So once he gets you through those 2 or 3 innings, he's laboring through a 4th, maybe laboring through a 5th if everything lines up correctly. And it's just he doesn't have the stamina. He just doesn't. And
that's why I've always said, I'm like, because one guy and I were going back and forth, because he was like, oh, how can you say that Will Warren is not it will be best served as a long relief guy? When he pitched all 33 starts last year, and he threw 162.
Hang on. We got breaking news. Rob has now arrived at home, so he wants to jump on.
Good. And this is perfect, because he can kind of add to this a little bit, because he'll feel our pain. But I'm like newsflash, my guy. 162 divided by 33 is 4.9, which means he's only averaging 4.9 innings a start. So I'm like,
I was trying to figure out where that number was coming from,
because I did the math, because I was going back and forth with this guy on Twitter for like an hour, because this guy would not give in to the fact that
you have way more focus than I do.
Like, because he's like, Will Warren's doing just fine. I'm like, last year he had a 4.44 ERA, and
just fine isn't good enough. If I don't care if it's the 5th starter, just fine isn't good enough if you have championship aspirations.
Thank you, because like to me, when I look at a rotation, a 1 through 5,
yeah,
those first 2 guys, especially in the modern era, in the last, pretty much since COVID, those first 2 guys, I want sub 3 ERAs. Like, or close to it, somewhere around exactly 3. The third and fourth guys, I want them somewhere in the mid 3s, and then I want my fifth guy to be just under or at 4.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they should be. Last year, he was not good enough because a 4.44 ERA is not 4 or not 3.8, 3.9. So,
Oh, sorry.
No, because it's like, I'm like, Will Warren, we've always said, can get there, but he's not getting there. He's not improving. So, like,
he always was like a high ceiling, low floor guy. Let's try that again. Always was a high ceiling, low floor guy. There we go. And it kind of just feels like I screwed that up twice, didn't I?
Yeah, high. Yeah, I know what you meant. High
low,
floor, low ceiling.
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
The point of it being is that there wasn't going to be a lot of room for him to completely fall off where he was, but he wasn't ever going to get that much better in all likelihood either. And I said to you, we both said this back in 2025. This guy is the number 4 starter to me. He's a number 4 starter, and there's nothing wrong with being a number 4 starter. But at the same time, you're pitching right now more like a number 6. You're pitching more like a first man out guy, and it begs the question: are they best suited? Putting Heel, I still would put Heel in the bullpen, but it begs the question: at least worth the consideration. Are you better off replacing Warren with Heel and then putting Warren in the bullpen instead? I think you're better off putting Heel in the bullpen because of his stuff, and I think his stuff will play up better. And I've always thought that, even when he was healthy. And I think that Warren might be the opposite. I think he'd play down in the bullpen potentially. Anything beyond a long reliever, because I just don't think he's got I think he's more valuable as an innings eater than he is of a guy who can actually, who can go in there and basically he's got, as what I call him, the FU pitches, where he can just go in there and just say, like Cam Schlittler did, not this start but the start before, where he says, here it is, I dare you to hit it.
Like that's. Like, you know what it is for me, and me and this guy were going back and forth. But he was like, oh, well, the Yankees already have 2, long relievers on their roster. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, if you were to put Will Warren in as a long reliever, he's better than Ryan Yarbrough and Paul Blackburn.
Well, so, that begs one of my next questions, because I had an earlier one that thankfully I didn't forget. Do you think of starting maybe the opener follower type thing, where you use either Warren, Yarbrough, or Blackburn? We use one of them as an opener, one of them as a follower, and then make the outside one your long reliever, and kind of just accept that every 5th day is going to be not a bullpen day per se, but that every 5th day you're going to use one more pitcher than you want to.
That's what I've thought about, and the thing is, so far, you can make a case for either Warren or Yarbrough being that opener, because last year when Yarbrough had to come in a pinch, he was actually really damn good. That's
the thing is all 3 of those guys, even Blackburn, all 3 of those guys, if you need them to get 4 to 6 outs, they can do it. The problem is when you ask them to go to that 9 to 15, that's where they struggle.
Yeah, and it's like that's. It's a real tough situation. And it's like, but this is why we keep saying, I keep saying, wait till these guys get healthy, wait till they get healthy. But the thing is, you're not getting Rodon back until I think sometime in May. And you're not getting Cole back until you're getting Rodon back, was it the end of April, the end of this month, and you're getting Cole back the end of May. You can't wait that long for the pitching to get healthy and hope that you can just keep skating by the way you are. So it's a real tough spot to be in if you're the Yankees, because you're off to a good start record-wise, but you're not playing great. You're not playing great baseball. No one in this lineup outside of Rice is batting over 300. So I'll add on to that. Because, like, I'm looking right now at the standings. Statistically, the Yankees have the 2nd highest win percentage in baseball, only a half a game behind who else? The Los Angeles Dodgers. Even though the 2 teams behind us do shock me, and that's the Reds and the Brewers.
but but looking at us, it's funny because we and the Reds are kind of the opposite teams right now, where the Reds have a decent number of runs allowed. They've only allowed 40 runs, which is about 3.5 per game. The problem is that they've only scored 38 runs. We have the opposite problem where we've allowed the fewest runs in baseball, including less than the Atlanta Braves, who have played 2 more games than we have, including 4 fewer than the Atlanta Braves is what I meant to say. But the problem is that our runs scored puts us like right around the middle of the pack, where we've scored 54 runs, and the team at the top has scored 25 more than that.
It's like that's just not World Series caliber. You can't win like that. You just can't.
Well, and see, here's the crazy thing, or here's a crazy thing to me, because I just did this in my head. I hadn't seen these numbers, so I just did this in my head. 11 games and 54 runs a game. So we're scoring almost 55 runs a game. I'm sorry, almost 5 runs a game.
I wish it was.
Yeah, me too. We're scoring almost 5 runs a game, and that's middle of the pack. That just shows you where baseball is right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, realistically, some of that's going to neutralize. I mean, most teams are not going to keep scoring more than 6 runs a game. So realistically, some of it's going to come back down to earth. But I'm going to go back to what I was going to say earlier when we talk about the infield. This is what I would consider how when we talk politics, how in things like, Congress and, Senate and whatnot, they have things referred to as the quote unquote nuclear option. Mm-hmm. This is my quote unquote nuclear option for the infield. I know that they said his bat wasn't ready yet, but they said his defense could be played in a game right now. So they just go George Lombard.
Yeah, I've thought about that. It's interesting just because it's tough. It makes it a little tough, and I know they could potentially do this if they want to, but when you look at the infield as a whole, right?
Yeah.
The only guy that they can really move on tomorrow, they can move on from tomorrow, is Jazz, because Jazz is gone after this year, or he could be gone at the deadline even.
I don't entirely agree with that, only because, I mean, we've seen them move on from guys with a year or two left on their contracts.
Well,
so
that's what I'm thinking is like the thing is, I just don't know how they would feel if they were to say, like, if McMahon doesn't pick it up, he's owed a lot of money, I think, this year, and I think next. So you would have to eat some money there. And I don't know if they would
BFD, big deal.
Yeah, which they would. That's what I usually say. But it's like,
and to their credit, they've been able to say that too. They've been able to do that with a Tex, with a Rodriguez, with an Aaron Hicks. They've been willing to do it with those guys. Yeah. And our buddies in the house, how are you doing, Rob?
Scoop, you didn't change the background. You gotta change it, man.
I knew that there was something that I didn't.
I'm gonna put up a nice Masters image for you guys, since it's Masters week for the next 2 days.
Sounds good. Went from going from one thing we're not talking about to another thing we're not talking about. But anyway, glad you could join us tonight, man. We're gonna miss you tomorrow, so I'm glad that you were able to get on. Basically, we were breaking down the New York versus nowhere game, and just kind of going through.
I hate that stadium. Okay, can I ask this? How frustrated are you guys when you go up to Sacramento to that stadium? Is it like as bad as you could imagine? Because for me, it pisses me off so much.
I'll be honest with you. I don't pay that much attention to it. Here's my thought. All right. There's one stadium that pisses me off to no end, and it's the stadium that went famous 2 days ago for a guy showing his ass in the seats.
Yeah.
And
the main was that Trop, or was that?
Yeah.
Why do you guys hate the top so much? It's a beautiful
It's been a house of
stadium.
horrors for the Yankees for like 15 years.
That's not even why I hate it. That's not even why I hate it. And it's not because I think it's ugly, because I don't. That
I hate
freaking
it. That place like a prison. I hate that damn field.
that freaking catwalk is so damn stupid.
Yeah.
You have a baseball stadium that is indoors where home runs are being hit, and you've got a big ass metal beam, like barely, like however many tens of feet in the air, that is disrupting the field of play whatever percentage of the time. It absolutely pisses me off. Anyway, but going back to what I was originally saying is here's my thought process. If there's 4 bases, an outfield, seats, foul lines, and the bases are equidistant from one another, you should be able to score, you should be able to run, you should be able to pitch, you should be able to win. That's how I think about it. I don't give a damn if the stadium sucks, with the exception of the AstroTurf, which I'll go back and forth with Shane on whenever he comes back. With the exception of that, I really don't care where you're playing. I expect you to win.
Here's the one thing that pisses me off about baseball, that if I was commissioner for one day, I would mandate, in order to play baseball again, every stadium's dimensions must be exactly the same. This is immensely stupid. This is such a dumb idea to have one stadium. One stadium is an advantage for the other team versus the other. That's dumb. You're creating a competitive disadvantage for the team that's on the road in every place to go. That's so
last I checked, both teams are playing in the same stadium.
Yes, but guess what? One team plays in that same stadium more because they're at home than the other person.
But they play a series usually play a series. But yes, it does, because then that other team has that advantage when you go to their stadium.
One series is 3, some series are 2, some series are 4. You either balance
almost never are you getting a 2-game series.
Well, they used to do that.
You do.
Sorry guys, I did not. Sorry guys, I did not eat today, so I'm smacking some peanut butter.
That's fine.
To save myself.
That's all right.
You know what it is for me.
Can you imagine if an NFL field was, instead of 100 yards in one stadium, it's 140. In one stadium, it's 100. In one stadium, it's 90. That's baseball. It's stupid.
Yeah, and then you've got
the only reason it exists is because these stupid streets, these stupid local governments, that's why it exists. Because baseball decides to stick in the 1920s in 2026. It's stupid.
Well, see, it didn't.
We do not live in the 1920s anymore. Yeah. We don't have polio.
Well,
baseball thinks polio still good.
Well, you know what it is? Well, I mean, listen, we can complain about the size of the stadium all we want. It didn't stop the Dodgers from beating Toronto on their home turf.
Okay, I'm going to say it again because I'm eating and I'm hungry and I apologize. Baseball thinks polio still exists. Baseball still thinks we're in World War I. Baseball still thinks Hitler's in jail. This is what baseball is right now. It's 2026, and baseball still thinks it's the 1920s.
Oh,
baseball still thinks Rosa Parks is alive. This needs to stop. We have to move to 2026. We can't allow this.
Have you ever seen the old Yankee Stadium dimensions?
I forgot.
You don't.
Rob would have a conniption.
You don't, because Monument Park used to be in the outfield, in deep center field.
And again, it's not to racism is awful. I'm glad that they're doing a better job with that. Because I said the Rose Parks thing, I figured I'd be careful.
Oh, okay.
But
I was so confused there.
But baseball still thinks racism exists, even. You know what I mean? This is a problem. The amount of African American players we have in baseball, we need more. Just like hockey needs more. It's a problem. These things happen in baseball and they're just ignored.
Well, you know what it is though, is when you look across the sports, and then now we can kind of finally, I guess, transition away from baseball, but this includes baseball technically, is The problem is not so much that these games are doing a bad job of like bringing in different kinds of like cultures to the game. It's more so just the price points to get in to play the game are just absurd.
It's as bad as soccer. Soccer's worse, but it's as bad as soccer.
Like you get like
bad, yeah.
Like baseball just isn't played in like inner city areas just because it's not affordable and it's not a game that's played. So
here's what's crazy though. Here's what's crazy, and it's kind of like, think about what we just watched with the WBC. You go to the Dominican, you go to Cuba, you go to these other countries that are on the whole, right, much like worlds of levels below the U.S. They financially, they just are.
You're right.
And yet the lower incomes areas of even those countries, by even those country standards, those guys come up with baseball. So how is it that the so-called lower levels in this country can't? That pisses me off.
I think the biggest thing, because obviously Dominicans and let's say Latino countries, baseball's always been part of the culture,
right?
But the amount of I know you guys have problems with Jazz Chisholm. I'm not getting into that right now in terms of his play, but I think African American ball players are really cool. They bring an extra dimension, like you see with the NBA. Oh, it's very hip hop. Oh, it's very, and that was started by Allen Iverson back in 01 or early 2000s. Baseball does need bigger picture. All of baseball's problems is that they need that. They need that infusion to get people into the stadium more and people to be more engaged.
I mean, you would know this because originally that was started by Griffey. That was Griffey Jr.
But I think I'll be honest, and I would have to talk to African American players about this to know the truth about it, because I can only speak from a fan perspective.
Right.
I do wish that there was more just flavor in baseball. More just like, hey, here's this guy with this interesting personality. Whether you hate him, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I appreciate about Jazz Chisholm. You can either hate him or you love him, but he's himself.
I think fans, and I think Brandon and I would both agree with this. And I'd venture to guess the overwhelming majority of Yankees fans would say this. I don't give a damn what your flamboyance is or what your level of flair or ostentatiousness is, as long as you're making your plays and you're
Back it up, exactly.
Jazz doesn't.
I mean, think back to a couple of the most famous Yankees in history. Ricky Henderson was very ostentatious. Reggie Jackson literally called himself the straw that stirred the drink. They're beloved by Yankees fans.
Right.
I mean, hell, you even look at. I know he's half, but Derek Jeter, who was the opposite of that, but Derek Jeter, being half black. Mm-hmm. Derek Jeter is one of the greatest baseball players ever. Yeah. So like, it's what's like. I have no problem. Like, and the thing is, growing up, I loved watching guys like, even though he was in division, one of my favorite players to watch growing up, and he didn't get nearly enough credit for how good he was in the outfield.
I know who you're gonna say. Yep.
Because Adam Jones. Because Adam Jones in Baltimore was one of the best players in baseball for about a 4 or 5 year period, and he never got enough credit for how good he actually really was. So, because
he had the unfortunate part of he was there before Baltimore actually was, like, before they got Machado, before they got Dylan Bundy, before he broke in half, before they got other guys like he was there like around the JJ Hardy time. He was there when Nick Markakis didn't suck. He was Matt Whiters or Weeders, however you pronounce it.
Also, Brian Roberts was there, I think, too.
Bro, you remember that fever dream when he was a Yankee?
Oh yeah, it lasted.
Holy crap!
Seconds. But
Holy crap!
Can I ask one last baseball question? This
yeah,
is my biggest question, or one
Ask
of my
as many
biggest
questions as you want. This is a show.
Okay. Here's my question. Do you think that the commissioner of baseball cares or likes baseball?
No.
no.
Why not? Why not? From your point of view,
I'll-
why not?
I'll say this. I'll say this. I give him credit for being seemingly right on things where I didn't think he'd be right the last couple of years with some of the changes that he made and one thing or another. But inherently, the commissioner's job is to be a stooge for the owners, typically the highest level ones, and that's what he's there to do. He's not there inherently to be a quote unquote fan of the game, to be sort of a Steve Cohen type who went from being a fan to controlling the operations. I think that he, which again, I don't entirely fault him for. I think he sees it as a business, which it is. I think he sees himself as a businessman, which he is, and I think he sees himself as exactly what he is, a stooge for the wealthiest owners in baseball, which is more or less exactly what he's paid to do. So I don't think. I think if Rob Manfred, I think when he quits in 2 or 3 years, I don't think he will. I wouldn't be surprised if he never watches a Major League Baseball game.
Like
the reason why I'm saying this is like I look at Roger Goodell. Hell, Brandon, you know this. The best example, maybe not of the last 3 years, but definitely the last 10 to 15. Dana White is what we all wish every commissioner was.
and he
I don't know enough about him, and I need to learn more.
He catches a lot of crap, and I mean
Every commissioner does for that matter.
Yeah, but for some reason, but people don't like him because the other commissioners will smile in your face and then laugh behind your back. He'll do both right in front of you.
Yeah,
he's real. Dana White is real.
He will say what he thinks,
I'd
whether
rather have
you
that
like
than
it
this
or not.
politicking that the other ones do.
But see, you know why I don't like. But the reason why I don't like, Rob Manfred is because for the little things he does do right with the game, like you were saying, the problem is baseball is still not growing the way it should, and he's responsible for that. And
yes, that's where my head's at right now. And that's why that's what I'm saying. I feel like I'm sorry to interrupt, Brandon. That's why I'm saying baseball feels like it's still in the 1920s. It's not growing where it needs to go.
He's doing the bizarre thing. He's doing the bizarre combination of working to inch the game along, but also self-tying one hand behind his back doing it.
Right.
That's what it is. And it's not
Brandon.
And it's not just that, but I mean, this is the same guy that literally called. I mean, we remember this. He called the World Series trophy a piece of metal,
an empty cup.
I had blackballed that from my memory.
How can you blackball that from your memory? That is the most important phrase he's ever uttered as commissioner.
Probably because it was that damn stupid and disrespectful that my brain just didn't accept that it actually happened.
It's like for in some ways he is helping the game along. The casual fans are kind of coming along because the pace of play is quicker now. So in some ways he gets credit for that, but in other ways it's like he's also just it's almost like stop hitting yourself kind of thing. Why are you sabotaging something that you're also trying to help build? You
know what it's like to me? You know how when I'm not making this political, I'm just using the political system as an example. You know how when we've got the primaries and whatnot, and they'll tell a candidate, I don't care who it is, they'll tell a candidate, elections are won in the middle. You're never gonna lose your base, so don't talk to them, talk to the guys. And that's basically what I think Rob Manfred is doing. He knows that he's not gonna lose his 100%. He knows he's not gonna lose his baseball loyalists like myself. As much as I may sometimes shoot from the hip and say this is gonna be that or the other. Lord knows I'm gonna be watching baseball until the end, and all that being said, I think that's very much how I see what Rob Manfred does. He knows he's not going to lose the baseball loyalists, so he thinks that it's worth maybe pissing them off a little bit in order to try and bring some new people in.
That's what baseball should have. Baseball, if you look at for better or for worse, if you look at the NFL, if you look at the NBA, heck, if you look at the MLS has progressed leaps and bounds. It's still not great. Brandon and I know this. The product is still not great, but they are progressing leaps and bounds over Major League Baseball in terms of expansion, in terms of getting young fans, in terms of engagement.
I will say the expansion thing. I will say the expansion thing is imminent. They had said for a while that the reason why they're waiting until the 3 years from now is because they had two teams, the Tampa Bay Rays and the. I'm not finished with my sentence. What's up?
I know. Timeout. Scoop. The MLS expanded from 6 teams to 26 in the span of 10 years, and you guys did nothing in the span of 10 years. Equivalent.
We didn't only have 6 teams to start with.
I understand.
That's a major. That is a major difference.
Because your commissioner will not change the game to better the game and to get it to more people, which is what the MLS has done.
They actively have expansion. What do you call them? Committees or whatever, who are working to make that announcement in 2 years. The reason why, can you let me finish? The reason why they haven't done it is as they said, which, for better or worse, it was because they were 2 organizations that needed to either be relocated or have new stadiums. There was the Tampa Bay Rays and the Athletics. That is the reason, at least for all outward purposes, that is the reason why they haven't gone from 30 to 32, which is, I think that they said that their timeline for that is by 28 or 29, around the time that Manfred's going to be gone. But it's, excuse me, sorry. But that was part of the problem, and that is something in which I will tie into what you were talking about in terms of there have been teams that needed renovated stadiums or new stadiums or whatever, and you talk about baseball needing to update. That is one area in which I will agree with you, because that ties into that issue right there, because there are stadiums that I don't know, that they probably still have like lanes for horses and buggies or something, but
yes,
but I think that there was so I get the point you're making, but I also think there's a lot of background there that it doesn't line up as well for that comparison.
Why?
Really quick, the thing I want to mention is I apologize. I didn't showcase. It makes me fume because I didn't actually approach this the right way. What I'm saying is the MLS, for better or for worse, has used expansion to gather new audiences in the 18 to 30 range. I'm not saying that baseball needs to expand. I don't know what you know about that. What I'm saying is they used expansion as a tool. What has baseball done? Look, I understand pitch clock and stuff, but what has baseball done as a tool to engage that young audience? Your off season is the slowest thing I've ever seen. I don't understand why nothing happens for 5. And I understand the lockouts coming and all that stuff. Every time a lockout comes up, Brandon and I know this from the NFL, that free agency is always extremely slow. I understand. So I'm sorry, Scoop. I didn't showcase what I was trying to say better. That's my bad. But I'm just frustrated as to how is soccer growing in 18 to 30 range better than baseball? How are you getting lapped? I talked about this before. How are you getting lapped this hard?
Excuse me.
By soccer?
And I think what we talked about earlier is a large part of it. Just the sort of the barriers to entry, as they'll say economically, the barriers of entry, which it is literally an economics thing, but it's also otherwise. In terms of the game, I do think that just in the times that we're in terms of attention spans and whatnot, I think the inherent fast motion of things like soccer and basketball, I think just gravitates to young kids
That's why it pisses me off when people are still saying that baseball is too slow. I'm like, then you're not watching it, because the game only goes 2.5 hours now.
Game goes the exact same length as the NFL, except barricades.
See, that's the thing. And this is why I had a little bit of skepticism and cynicism with the things like the pitch clock and whatnot. Is because I think that it was never truly about the actual duration of the game. It was about the rate of the motion within the game. And with baseball being what it is, that inherently is not going to, there's only so much you can do with that.
I love that you said that. I've never had someone approach it that way. I think that's a very fascinating way to think about it, because it's not just about the speed. It's about, okay, baseball has these inherent things that are just ingrained into the game that will never change. I love that you said it that way.
Remember before the pitch clock, there was that famous YouTube video of the time it took one guy in a Cubs game to throw one pitch versus that was whole half inning.
Yeah.
I like the pitch clock.
Well, there are some guys whose windups. I mean, I don't need to be able to go and cook a medium rare steak in the amount of time it takes you to do a windup.
That's what pissed me off. Is like when I played baseball growing up, you didn't like, especially because I pitched. You pitch the ball, strike a ball, get the ball back. About 5 seconds later, you got the sign from your catcher. You threw it again, but in the majors before the pitch clock, these guys would throw a pitch, then they would mess with the rosin bag, then wipe the sweat from their forehead, then do this, then do that.
Look at the second baseman.
I'm like, bro, throw the damn baseball.
They would throw the ball around the infield more times than we did in Little League, and I'm like, what exactly? Do you need to learn your second baseman's name? Like what?
But the thing
I love Scoop. I love that you said it that way, though. I'm sorry, Brandon. I love that you said it that way, because it just reaffirmed what people, I think, misconstrued about baseball. And Brandon, I'm going to let you go with this, because I think this will add to your point. It's that inherently with any sport that we talk about on this show and Football After Hours and any show we've ever done, the game is still the game. The game doesn't change. People who don't like baseball, and this is kind of what you said, and I think Scoop put it in a very concise way to add to what you're about to say. People who say that just actually don't care to like baseball.
Yeah.
And we shouldn't be listening to those people. Please continue, Brandon, because I think that's the one thing before you continue that I wanted to reaffirm.
The biggest thing for me is pace of play in baseball was never a problem. Like, people never had a problem with it until social media became a widespread thing. And we know that social media does basically kill your brain cells, because we've known since the rise of social media that, you know.
Have you seen our fan base on there? It fries my brain cells.
It's so funny. I love Yankees fans. You all are so funny. You all are so deluded. It's hilarious. I'm not talking about you guys. I'm talking about the people on social media.
Yeah.
It's awesome how deluded you guys are.
Go look at trade proposals from our fans. It makes me want to just jam a straw through my eyeball.
Like, I love being a Yankees fan, but now I can see why we're compared to the Cowboys. Like, I can see why
it's very similar,
because
it's very similar.
I'm like, our fans are so damn low. It's crazy, but it's almost like it's split down the middle. Half our fans are kind of like me, where it's like, oh, we're not going to win anything with this lineup, whatever. Even no matter, like, we might think optimistic for maybe 5 games, and then afterwards we're like, damn, this lineup is not going to win anything. And then there's the other half that just believe every year is their year. Where I'm like, no, it's not. That's not realistic.
Guys, I'm sorry to say, I don't know if you've watched many pitches of what's been a very interesting Blue Jays Dodgers series. The Dodgers are head and shoulders better than everyone else right now. It's not even close.
Oh, and we knew that. We knew that
going in.
That's why it's after Kyle Tucker, just give them the damn trophy. And if they're healthy, give them the damn trophy. No one's beating.
Right.
Well, and that goes back to this whole and people, and maybe I'm just now again. I understand that I'm one of the people who has not really been. I mean, obviously, if you're not the Yankees, I'm rooting against you. I don't care. Yeah. It's not. But I have been somebody who has said who's had respect for how the Dodgers have operated, who has respect for the fact that they are able to just cultivate talent seemingly from anywhere, seemingly take, the last bounty paper roll off the shelf at CVS and find a way to make it a viable Game 4 pitcher in the World Series. But just the fact that they are, and people were saying this offseason, it's not worth watching, baseball now because, the Dodgers got you. I'm like, if that's your mentality, you weren't going to watch baseball that much anyway.
You know what's funny? I kind of have that mentality a little bit in the summer because the thing with baseball that bothers me, and this is just inherently what's wrong with any sport, I do not care about the Reds versus the Pirates in June. I don't care. I will say
it's just funny that you mentioned the Reds specifically because they're one of the top 3 records in baseball right now.
Yeah, and I still think they're awful. No, this is a problem inherently in any sport. Obviously, it's more of aggressive in the NBA. I mean, we've talked about this at length. And they did you guys see that the NBA had last Sunday and last Wednesday, they had 2 of the highest scoring days combined in the history of the league. It's unbelievable. It's so bad.
Well,
anyway,
it seems prioritizing defense, like Adam Silver said he was doing, seemingly is going not according to plan. If there's a plan that exists anyway,
it's mostly because the Kings don't even want to score 50 right now. Which whatever.
Did you see who was it? Who was it? Was it Draymond Green who called out what the Kings were doing?
Well, no, Draymond Green literally called out the commissioner's office, and I'm glad that he's in there. That he does this because look, you might love or hate him, but Draymond to me,
no, I'm a Draymond fan. I'm not gonna lie,
and that you don't have to be a fan of his antics. I'm not.
I am.
I respect that. I'm not a fan of all of his antics, but I wish he was the commissioner. Because he actually cares about the sport, and the thing, because it's real. He literally went up and this is Draymond Green. This is who he is. He says, "Why am I getting stupid fouls, technicals for just being myself when you're not even going to find the Kings who are barely getting 50 points a game?" Which is is it an apt comparison?
That's what it was.
Is it an apt comparison? No, it's not. But the point still stands. I'm just saying it's not exactly what he said. But again, the NBA, and I'll just take you behind the scenes here. The NBA doesn't care about the next 4 days of basketball because they want ESPN to get viewership for the draft lottery. The draft lottery is going to get boatloads of viewership with the amount of players. They don't actually, and that's the thing. They say they care about tanking, but if you look at and we're not going to get into this today. We've gone into it in the past. We don't have to. I have one more thing that I want to cover with Brandon, and Brandon teaches some stuff. But basically, the biggest thing that is the NBA thinks that tanking is bad and tries to appease to people like us who say tanking is bad. It's really bad. I mean, this month of basketball, minus 1 or 2 games,
go watch
yesterday. Pointless.
Go watch Nets Bucks yesterday and see how many G League guys are basically playing on either side.
Right, exactly. Great point. And the thing is that they don't care because guess what? The middle of June or late May, that draft lottery is going to be so fascinating. Mm-hmm. There you go. So that's part of it. Okay, so
you were talking about points scored. Did you see what my Pels did last night?
What did they do?
Dude, take a guess how many right now. Take a guess how many they scored on Utah.
Like 67.
156.
Gross. But yeah, because Utah's not trying right now. Well, neither are you, but at least you have young players that want to run the court.
Actually want to grow and develop. Like we can't tank. We don't have a draft pick this year.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you guys just suck, and you shouldn't have made that trade. As much as I love Derek Queen, that trade was stupid.
Apparently, somehow we're in position for Boozer. I don't know how.
Yeah, he was projected to them.
You are, and you're probably going to get a top 4. You probably will get Boozer. Anyway,
if there's a God,
you know what, Brandon? You know what? Brandon just proved my point. He cares about the draft lottery more than his roster in the next 4 days.
Because I know we suck. I know we're garbage.
Yeah, I'm looking at the box score. I'll just run through this real quick. Fears had 40. Poole had 34. Hawkins had 25. Our number four scorer in the game had 20, and it was Micah Peavy.
Micah Peavy? Micah
Yes.
Peavy's a back end. See what I mean? It's a back end player. Okay. Before we go,
do you see why in the NBA now I don't care when a guy drops 40, 50, 60 points anymore when it's some no name that'll never do it again?
You know why? Care. You know why I realized this? Because this has been the worst month of NBA basketball of my entire life. I haven't turned on an NBA game, like willingly sat down and watched it since January 12th, probably. Like
That's
been
wildly specific.
a long while.
I know how people coming off their couch say like, "Oh yeah, I can do what these guys do," watching a game, whatever. Like back then, no, you can't. But I'm almost convinced I could go out there tomorrow and drop at least 10 in NBA games.
You can drop 10 against G Leaguers. Absolutely, you can. Okay, so and I know we have the Masters logo. We'll probably do more Master stuff next week because I want to see what happens. Well, honestly, you know what? We're going to talk a little Masters on Saturday because we'll be watching it while we do FAH. So the one thing is WrestleMania is next week. We're all within 10 days, right? 10 days? Or 9 days?
Yeah.
Roughly. I'm only going to watch Sunday because I'll be at the Sounders game. So basically, Brandon and I have asked Brandon basically to help me kind of, around this time of year, around, my birthday, around the Masters, I just kind of like, all right, yeah, I'm excited to watch at least Sunday of WrestleMania. So give us kind of, we have, 20 minutes here before we're supposed to go off air. Just give us like your experience with wrestling. Teach us about wrestling. I know Scoop is also much newer than I am, or obviously you are. Give us some lowdown about your history with it. What makes next weekend and WrestleMania as a whole such a big thing? Not only in the wrestling world, not only in the sports world, but it's culturally very, very big. These 2 days that we're going to have next weekend are culturally very, very big and very important on the world calendar in general. So you can go how you wish, but I think Scoop and I would be very interested in all these pieces as we're getting ready for WrestleMania next week.
Well, wrestling is the first thing I want to say about it before I get into any of that stuff. The people that say that also like are the same people that evidently will say baseball is boring are also
it's very similar.
Or they'll tell you, "Oh, wrestling's fake. Why should I care?" It's like, well, here's the thing. Just like people saying baseball is boring, like, I can go out there and do that. I would challenge anybody that watches wrestling to get into a wrestling ring and try to do what those guys do on a nightly basis, because you can't. And
no one can. No.
And everybody talks about like the physical toll that regular the unscripted sports takes on your body, whether that's football, basketball, baseball, whatever, what have you. Wrestling takes the most, probably, out of your body.
One of the most for sure. That's up there.
To me, that and football are the two worst. But
and MMA, I would argue, and MMA.
And MMA. But it's and MMA I would say is I would say it's probably MMA, wrestling, and football.
Because MMA takes wrestling, it takes jiu-jitsu, it takes all these disciplines, and you're actually fighting somebody. It's not scripted.
And you're still trying to hurt someone.
Right.
So it's tough. Those people are some of the baddest people on the planet. But when it comes to wrestling, what makes wrestling interesting is it is very, very physical, and it still is to a degree a combat sport, but there's also the entertainment factor of it, so it's still a show. So what's interesting about wrestling, and some kids when you're young you gravitate towards it, some don't. I was a kid that did, and a lot of my friends were, and it's one of those things where a lot of us kind of fell off along the way as we got older, as everyone does. But then you find ways to come back into. But then you find things that you like about it, and you come back into it. Like listen, I love wrestling still, but I've come back into it around COVID. I got back into it, like as I was
That's
in
how
college.
I got into it. That's how I got into it. Was
And-
COVID.
And
That's how I got back into hockey.
yeah. See, like it's the
Back
same
into
thing.
hockey for Scoop. Yeah.
But when it comes to wrestling, like growing up when I was 7, 8 years old, wrestling, and I don't want to get into the problems wrestling has these days, but as a little kid,
I
when
want
you
to do that. I want to do that next week. If Scoop wouldn't
Yeah.
mind, I would love to do that next week. There's
Yeah,
a lot of issues in
but
wrestling.
Okay.
but the thing is, as a little kid, when you watch wrestling for the first time, you're hooked into it because it's not a movie and it's not a TV show. These are live people doing something live in front of your face. It's live acting basically, and it's
Yep.
cool. It's edgy. It's physical. So it's something that you as a little kid, your eyes are just kind of glued to, and growing up for me, it's like as a little kid, you don't know any better. You think it's real. So, and in some cases, there are some times where real life stuff does bleed into wrestling. It's not often, but it does happen. But when it comes to that, like like right now, the guy running the show, the guy running in the all WWE is Triple H. Triple H, 20 years ago, growing up for me as a little kid, was one of my favorite wrestlers. But him, The Undertaker, Kane, John Cena, Randy Orton, Rey Mysterio. The list goes on and on. And
I'll be right back.
guys,
I gotta grab. You said Rey Mysterio. I'm gonna grab something. I'll be right back.
I can kind of think about it.
Yeah, Brandon knows exactly what I'm gonna grab. I'll be right back.
I actually did know pretty much every name you said, so I was surprised by that.
Yeah. So, but that's because
Because they're
those
cult.
names.
Because as Scoop said, every name he knows names. Because wrestling is cultural icons. These people become icons outside of wrestling.
Like it's the newer ones you won't know.
Yeah.
But it's like, I grew up watching a lot of these guys. I grew up watching, plenty of them. And the thing is, like wrestling is cool, and that's why I was happy when Kenny said on our show last week about the new show. I don't know if he's going to want us to tell it now or if everybody saw it, but about the new wrestling show that's coming to the network, and it's coming with Snitsky. And when he said that, and when he said that they were able to get him to kind of do this wrestling show, that's why my eyes kind of went big when we were doing our show. And I was like, that's awesome, like legitimately, because as a wrestling fan, and like that's still kind of a market that's as big as it is. It's in terms of podcasting and talking about it, it's still very niche and it's very small. Which is there it is. I knew you would get it. Wrestling is still, for some reason, it's kind of weird because it's such a small platform, like outside of the business, to talk about it and to read about it and to it's just very niche. It's very much
if you're not heavily involved, you can get slightly involved, but it takes some effort. It's something you can just
Yeah, and the thing is like, and there's a lot of sayings in wrestling that go around and all that stuff. But basically, so to get into like the history of this stuff, so wrestling was basically born out of the old school carnival days. So it was considered a carny kind of thing. So you saw them at like at circuses or local fairs or whatever it was, town fairs, and of course you had those old school like strongmen doing this kind of thing. But it kind of got born out of that, and a lot of terms in the wrestling business are still used to this day out of that.
And by the way, they're also used in MMA. Same exact terms. It's the same exact terminology.
And basically any combat sport, more or less.
Yeah, even boxing to an extent.
To an extent, yeah.
Yeah.
But when it comes to wrestling, it's pretty interesting because there's just a lot of kind of, you know, it's very nuanced, and it's because the main thing about wrestling, both back then and pretty much up until right before the social media era, was, so for however many years that was, what, 60 years or so, you basically, you looked at wrestling as like, oh, like people did not know until pretty much around the time of Y2K. People didn't know that it was scripted. Fans took it seriously. People took it seriously. People thought it was a real fight, and it was pretty obvious to tell that it wasn't. But people didn't know.
Looking back, absolutely, yeah.
But it's just, and when you the biggest thing about why wrestling became as big as it was is because especially back in the early days, and then of course it got edgy in the late 90s and early 2000s, but in the very early days and up through the first few WrestleManias and all that stuff, it was very, it was cool for like little kids to be like, yeah, that's my hero or whatever, or and but it was still family friendly. Families went to go see this with their kids. It was a spectacle. And so, like, and that's where you have guys like, of course, the names that everyone knows. You have your Hulk Hogan's, you have your Andre the Giants, you have Ric Flair, Bruno Sammartino, Jimmy Superfly Snuka, and of course that list goes on and on and on. And and those guys, like when people say that like certain sports stars are their heroes, those were for many kids back then. Those were their heroes. So like for me growing up watching wrestling, my heroes before I really got big into regular sports, my heroes were guys like a John Cena, like a Triple H, like The Undertaker. Those were, they were all cool. They all made wrestling fun, and they all were so dedicated to their craft. Now, what people do not realize about wrestling is just how hard that business is to both get into. Not so much today. Today, you can pretty much, with the right amount of training, you can get in. It's a lot kind of easier. But back in the day,
and by the way, and you have AEW there. You have so many different opportunities to really land. And TNA, yeah.
And so, but back when I was little, back when we were little, the only real companies, because WCW had dissolved, and a lot of those guys went to WWE or they went to TNA. So you only had two companies, and it was TNA and WWE. And but back in the 80s through the 90s and the very, very early 2000s, you had WCW and WWE, which was then the WWF. And they were competing, obviously, and then WCW obviously lost in the Monday Night Wars, and we can get into that whole thing. But basically, when we were little, the only two companies that were on TV were TNA and WWE. And TNA eventually faded after a lot of the former WWE guys that went there had retired from there. Basically, TNA went down, and WWE became like the only show for a while. Right. Then in the very late, here goes Scoop. In the very late, I don't know.
You're okay.
It's been buggy all night for some reason, even before I came on. But in the very late 2010s, in 2018 they started it, but it didn't go on TV, I believe, until 2019 is when AEW came around. And AEW, the goal originally was to bring back the old school fan into wrestling. And it did just that. And I still love, if I could pick between the three companies, AEW is still my favorite one right now. Yeah. And it's to me, it's just better. It's edgier, it's cooler, it's more adult. I like it. Still has silly moments.
The thing that I notice with AEW right now is that the fighters actually care to put on a good product.
They do.
It's not hemmed in.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's like, and I
Or
love
the
it,
wrestlers, I should say.
but when it comes to like, but we'll focus on those other companies another time. But when it comes to the WWE side of things, WrestleMania is such an important time of year because that's even though it comes kind of somewhat early on in the year long calendar, it comes on in April.
It comes
Or
on
in some,
literally the first week of the Stanley Cup playoffs. It's
which
the
is
first weekend.
yeah, and it's weird. You would figure that it would come at the end of the year, like you would start over, you would start fresh at the beginning of the year, and then work your way to the end. But
Yeah.
not for wrestling. Wrestling, pretty much, you have a certain amount of pay-per-views. You've got your Survivor Series, you've got
The bank.
Money in the Bank. You've got all these different ones, but WrestleMania is what every wrestler looks towards, and WrestleMania, just because the thing is about this business is, as much as people look at it from the outside in and they think it's silly, the guys in this business, it is very much a brotherhood, and they very much take everything seriously about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling is a very serious business when you're inside it, and the thing is with that, WrestleMania is still coveted as like the holy grail of wrestling. And it basically, it pretty much always will be until proven otherwise. Even with the struggles they're having recently, but still, it still is that because generations upon generations have watched this, and little kids have wanted to grow up being like Hulk Hogan, like Stone Cold Steve Austin, like The Rock, like John Cena, like The Undertaker, and those guys were your main event guys at your pay-per-views, but especially WrestleMania. So, like, there's been so many different guys over the years, and the thing is, everybody's like, oh, well, anybody in WrestleMania can be, or anybody in wrestling, or especially in WWE, can be successful and be a legend. That's not true. Because if you look at all the guys who are considered legends in that business, they all put in the work. And remember, as much as people want to crap on wrestling, there are no off days in the WWE. There's no off days in pro wrestling.
You don't have an off season. You work basically
Nope.
365,
You work
essentially.
365. You're on. I mean, they do get a little more time off now than they did back when we were little, but
Right.
for better and for worse. I mean, there's good and bad to it all. But the thing is that but those wrestlers, especially back in the day, so those Cena's, those Rocks, those Austins, those kind of guys, they put in the hours, late night. They put in the training at the gym. They put in love and care into their promos, which is obviously them, speaking into the mic. Anytime you see a wrestler speaking to a mic, it's a promo. And
It's saying, hey, we're going to do this fight at WrestleMania. Check it out.
yeah,
Here's the build-up.
yeah, basically. But they're saying it in a way where they're trying to, like, so a promo is not what you would think it is. Like, it is short for promoting something, promotion. But what a promo is in wrestling is basically you either backstage, you're talking to the person interviewing you, or you're out there in front of the crowd, and you are basically saying to the camera, to another wrestler, or to the interviewer, and on camera, basically being intense. Like, how are you building yourself up for your next match? How are you gonna trash talk your opponent and kind of build them up in the same breath and really pump this stuff up? That's why it's called a promo. And so basically, every time you see wrestlers, so everybody, all these pay-per-views every year are what they're called PLEs now, but I know them at back in the day they were called pay-per-views because you had to buy.
PLE is, I forgot what it's called. I forgot what
Premium,
it's called for premium live event. Correct.
Yeah, PLE is a premium live event.
There you go. There you go.
But it's just a new term. It's just a new version of saying pay-per-view. That's all it is.
Because pay-per-view's dead. With all the streaming services, nobody wants to do pay-per-view anymore.
But that's what a PLE is. It's a pay-per-view. And but so every time, and here's the thing too, you will get storylines even during these, even during the other pay-per-views, the other PLEs. Storylines won't just end there. The key is to end your storyline, especially if you're a main, like not so much a mid card guy or a low card guy. If you are a star and you're the draw of the show, and you're the guy that's either co-main eventing or main eventing, your goal is to basically drag out, not too long, but drag your story out long enough to make people remember it and to put on a good show each time you wrestle that wrestler, but also to build it up for WrestleMania, because that's when you're going to fight them to determine who either wins a belt or who is going to come out victorious in a brutal storyline, whatever the case may be.
And by the way, they are planning this out of like how this story is going to end, what
like a
move,
year,
what spots. They plan out that.
Oh damn it, Rob! Yeah, it's going to happen eventually. It's happened to three of us. It's happened to me first, then you. Now it's happening to him.
When did it happen to you?
I cut out for like 2 seconds, like when we were still talking baseball at the very end. I cut out.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah. So I hope Rob gets back in here. I don't know if he will, but
Same.
But basically, when it comes,
hang on. There he is. Oh, I thought we had him.
I don't know. Well, yeah, but I'll just keep talking about it. But
yeah, sorry about that.
Because he knows this stuff. I mean, he's getting into it again, but he knows this stuff too. So
yeah,
I'm basically just talking to our audience and to you, more or less.
Yeah, my bad.
But WrestleMania, like, I don't know. There you are. And now he's gone. What the hell is going on? I don't know. But WrestleMania, I feel like just saying that name is gonna make him appear. Just poof. But it like, I wish I had more time to kind of think about what I wanted to say more, because there's so many moving parts to it about pro wrestling that we can't just cover it in 15 minutes. Like we have to spend a whole show doing it. So
he fully went off the panel now. Like at first he was like, he was there as somebody who was, oh, okay, now he's back.
Turn my stuff off.
Oh shit, that was me.
What's happening? What's happening?
Yo, my computer has crashed like times today for some reason.
Oh,
yeah. It's been wild. Okay, do you mind, Brandon, if I talk about my experience with wrestling before we go, just to give Scoop some more?
This is how much of a fan I am. This is from the John Cena retirement tour last year. I went to SummerSlam.
Can you grab like one of the old really good like SmackDown versus Raw 08 or something like that? Because those games are amazing. Do you have any of those really good SmackDown or Raw WWE games or WWF games? But
forever.
But for me, I think it was during COVID because there was nothing else on TV. I think the biggest recommendation that I can give to anyone who, even from a casual perspective, talk about wrestling, because normally I'm someone who will really only watch Sunday of WrestleMania. But watch Undertaker. Undertaker puts so much into his craft, and it's so fantastic to watch. So he's probably like the first one I would say. His documentary that came out during COVID gets you to he had like 5 surgeries. It's like his whole body is just a freaking robot, so hard, and so that's probably like the first thing I would say.
The amount of times that these guys tear their pectoral muscles, especially, is insane. Is intense. They tear it a lot. Triple H has torn it like 3 times. Cena's torn it like 2 or 3. Like, they tear muscles because of just how strenuous that line of work is. You are constantly getting hurt in some way, shape, or form, big or small. And that's why I have a lot of respect for pro wrestling too. Because yeah, football players are getting hurt, but not every week or not every day. These guys are getting hurt.
They're getting nicks. They're getting ball.
Yeah.
But no, you're getting smacked.
Like you are getting absolutely pulverized. Now, mind you, this is not all of my games for wrestling, but here's 4 of them. I've got WWE 12, Randy Orton on the cover.
That's a good game. 12 is a good game. Yeah.
Yeah, so I've got 12. I got WWE Raw 2. And there you go. There's Triple H right there on the end. There's Goldberg in the middle and Scott Steiner on the other side. So that's
I
WWE
love the
Raw
old
2.
Xbox games, dude. Oh,
So-
that cover art is beautiful.
Speaking of WrestleMania, I got WrestleMania 21 on disc. So and on the back, you got Triple H, you got RVD up here on the other side, Mankind, which is just Mick Foley, Orton, and Cena on the back cover.
Sick. Very cool.
And then I've got the first WWE Raw, which features Rhino, Kane, Undertaker, and Jeff Hardy on the cover. And
Great
on the
cover.
back is Kurt Angle over here. You can't see him because I'll take pictures of it later, but Kurt Angle over here.
Kurt Angle is also one of those guys who's very much like a head honcho in the business now.
And you know why? And you know why? Because a lot of guys in this business, especially the guys who are legends, they get respect because they've earned it. And so, like, especially guys like Kurt Angle or a Brock Lesnar, they came in with already athletic backgrounds and in combat and professional combat sports. So you almost get a leg up on your competition in wrestling if you come from a background where you're already athletic, whether you're playing football or in a combat
Lesnar
sport.
was at Vikings camp. There's still footage of him Vikings preseason.
Yep.
And
there's Lesnar. Lesnar was a collegiate wrestler, so actual grappling and takedowns. So Lesnar was an actual collegiate wrestler. He was a pro football player, even though it was for a preseason, but still pro football player. And after his first WWE run, he became a UFC fighter and won a belt. So
whether or not it was legal can be debated forever, but regardless.
but he still was a good UFC fighter.
No, he still was really good.
But so guys like him or Kurt Angle, the thing he used to say in WWE was he won a gold medal with a broken freaking neck because he actually did at the Olympics. Before he became a pro wrestler, he had a broken neck, and he said that just to compete in the rest of that tournament, and especially in the gold medal match, they had to shoot him up with basically cortisone shots in his neck so he couldn't feel the pain. And then he was wrestling off just pure adrenaline and cortisone shots. That was it. So
crazy.
And the thing is, now Kurt Angle already went through that, then still became a pro wrestler and was good at that. So like it's those guys, or you can even go even further back, because the first guy that at least I remember, at least in my mind, out of all my wrestling history, to really do something similar to where they were already a really good combat athlete, and then they joined wrestling, any promotion, but especially back then, it was a WWF, was Ken Shamrock.
Shamrock, yes.
Stuff like that.
A MMA legend, Cam Shamrock, by the way.
So he got a lot of respect. Now his WWE career wasn't great, but he was respected in the business, and he still is. But when it comes to wrestlers, the amount of plan, like you were alluding to, Rob, the amount of planning that it takes for just even one match, not even for pay-per-views or for WrestleMania, but just the amount of planning that goes into one match, the amount of moves you have to kind of remember to do, the amount of
it's a checklist.
It's a checklist, but it's a checklist, but you also don't want it to be like the older wrestlers. They have it in their mind of what they want to do, and and there's an art form because nowadays you are kind of going with your opponent and you're making kind of bullet points for each thing you want to hit in the match all the way through. Back in the day, you didn't do that. Back in the day, you made a match with your opponent and you sat there and worked with them on the moves that you wanted to do. So you were basically quote unquote sparring with them essentially hours before that match took place
and that's why house shows need to come back. We need more house
shows are important. And the thing is, and house shows were also fun for the wrestlers as much as they had to travel so much. A lot of wrestlers, especially old school guys, they admitted that house shows were fun because they had a little more liberty to kind of play around either with the audience or with their
because they're not on TV. It's not on TV. You just gotta buy tickets and go. Yeah.
And so, and the thing is, and us as fans, I went to house shows growing up. We appreciated it. It was cool because it was something different, and it was exciting.
It was closed off. It was closed off. It felt like, special. You're not on USA Network.
The one thing that's sad, and of course, here's another one of my old man moments, but it's one of those things where kids these days growing up who are getting into wrestling like I did almost 20 years ago as a little kid, they won't understand what it was like to watch a wrestling program on TV to make sure that you tuned into it. And back then you could DVR it, but if you didn't DVR it, you missed the show. Yeah, that was it. So you'd have to wait till next week to tune back in and make sure you didn't miss it again. And so, but they'll never understand.
Now it's on Netflix, and if you have Netflix, guess what? It's on.
Go back and just rewatch. Yeah.
Yep.
And there's good stuff to that because you get to catch up on what you missed. But the thing is, those kids, like us back in the day, and this is why I say it's boomerish. Because it's funny to think about this, but with the house shows, now they would do commercials, not as much as they do nowadays for stupid things.
There's literally 5 seconds of a match commercial. It's so awful.
Yeah,
it's so
but
awful.
They would, but 20 years ago when we were growing up as little kids, they would cut to commercial, not as often as they do now, but they would cut to commercial, and pretty much. So the first commercial you would see that they would cut to commercial would be like the old school, like if you guys can picture it, you guys ever hear like the old school monster truck adverts like Sunday,
maybe ish,
like where they go, big air, big events, big moves coming to your area, and whatever date it was. So they would do that with pro wrestling. It'd be like, hey, New Jersey, WWE Raw is coming to the Prudential Center on Monday, May 16th, 2008. And that was a house show. That was not for Raw. It was for a house show. So all my friends in the area, because we would all watch Raw that night and then go to school the next day, we'd be like, hey, did you see, you want to go to this, or like we would beg our families to take us to this. And it was a cultural thing. Wrestling was more, it was family
about
fun.
Community. But
it was about like they would shout out your area and be like, guys, we want you to come to this. We want you to come to the house shows. Because it's not just about the main shows. The main shows make money, but the house shows was where the heart of wrestling is. And the thing is people don't understand this, that don't understand that wrestling is fake or wrestling is scripted. They don't understand that it is an art form. It is very much an art form. And it's very much, and the thing is, these guys are putting their bodies on the line to entertain you for 2 or 3 hours, sometimes more. And they keep saying oh, it's fake. I'm like, but you do realize that some of these guys, they wrestle in different kinds of matches. A ladder match could end your career, and it has ended many wrestlers' careers before. An Iron Man match where you go for a full hour. An hour in a wrestling ring would kill you because the cardio that you have to do to get yourself in shape to wrestle for an hour straight is no joke. And only the best of the best have gone through that, really. So,
Right.
like, so when people say, and it kind of gets a cheap pop from the crowd, and pop meaning a reaction from the crowd. So, like, a lot of times wrestlers will, like, in their promos, be talking to their crowd, and they'll say, like, and they'll get really intense, and you'll see guys like CM Punk do this a lot, and they'll say, like, my business is professional wrestling. I will die for this shit. I will bleed for this shit. I will do anything it takes for this. And that sounds like a good promo, but you know it means something when you hear the guys that put in the work, when they say that through a microphone. Yeah, they're somewhat saying it to get a rise out of the crowd, to get you to go woo and stuff like that, but it means more when it's someone that's respected, and it means more when it's someone who's paid their dues. And the thing is, fans of wrestling, like me and my friends, we don't forget the guys, especially the legends, but the guys that did the tough work, that laid that traveled the tough
Laid the
miles,
groundwork.
that did it. And
Yeah.
so it's like, you see guys on TV in 2026. When I see guys pop up on TV who are still wrestling, like Chris Jericho, or like a Rey Mysterio, or like last year,
Yeah.
like John Cena, those are the guys that lived it. Those are like, so I'm not saying wrestlers have it easy nowadays, because wrestling is still a very physical, hard thing to do. But those guys get a lot more respect universally, and that's why a lot of those guys also go on to become actors or analysts or what have you, or they go and they make a lot of media appearances, because outside of wrestling, people know who they are. Like, it's crazy how people aren't even wrestling fans, but they can tell you The Rock's a wrestler, and there's a whole generation of people that never saw The Rock wrestle, and so but The Rock, they know him as an actor, but he made his name. Well, he did make his name in college a little bit at Miami, but he made his name and put his stamp on the world through the business of professional wrestling. And so wrestling, like, I could spend all day giving like history lessons and whatnot. And the thing is, that's what I said. I wish we had more than like a half hour to explain it, because we need a whole show to really kind of dive into it. But the thing is, with professional wrestling, like, I wish, if there's one thing I want people to take away from it, is that appreciate it for the art. For, like, I'm not saying you have to like it, but at least respect and appreciate it for what it is and what it means to certain people. Like, I don't like seeing certain people that, especially younger fans. Like, older people should know better, but you'll always see like younger fans, especially like teenagers, and I'll see people put them down online for liking wrestling.
But that was me. That was me. And then in COVID, my friends were like, "No, you're misunderstanding this. Come watch this with us."
Like
I've watched WrestleMania with my Romanian friends Sundays, because usually on Orthodox Easter. This year it's a week later.
Yeah.
Sunday, it's Orthodox Easter. Everyone's getting ready for the table, and they're like, "Hey, WrestleMania, sit down. Let's watch."
Yeah, like but that's how it is. Like that.
I'm not complaining. I ain't complaining. It's cool.
And it's like, and people like, people make fun of it and they talk about it, but everybody knows what WrestleMania. Like, if you don't know what wrestling is, but you know what WrestleMania is, because because it's like, not for nothing, but you might not, and that's why I wish people would appreciate it more, because you might not care about professional wrestling, but you know the name Hulk Hogan, you know Andre the Giant, you know Ric Flair, you know Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, you know Sting, you know the wrestlers that laid the groundwork and became pop culture icons. And, like, not for nothing, but we take, like, the wrestling moves that people take for granted nowadays, like, but when you go back 40 years ago, like, when Hulk Hogan picked up Andre the Giant, who was a massive man, and body slammed him,
dude,
and body slammed him, that is not just a wrestling moment that will live on forever because of how impressive that feat of strength was for Hulk Hogan, who was already a strong-looking guy, but to lift a 7-foot, basically 400-pound giant and slam him onto the mat, it's like that is a moment that lives in pop culture history throughout the world, not just in the United States, not just in the business of pro wrestling. That is a moment that anybody, even outside of pro wrestling, knows exactly what that moment meant at that time in the world and how it's reverberated throughout the world today. It's very hard, you know, to look back on it, and it's like, you know, is wrestling silly to a degree? Yes. Is it not? You know, is it scripted? Yes. But the amount of work that it takes, the amount of dedication, you cannot just walk into wrestling thinking you can do it and then do it and be successful at it. Because who's a perfect example of this? Now Ric Flair has had a bunch of kids. Charlotte Flair, as much as she is a women's champion, she's not the best wrestler. But before her, David Flair, who wrestled in WCW, David Flair was god awful. And it's the same thing like we talk about Michael Jordan's sons, how they never amounted to anything. It's the same thing in professional wrestling. So when people crap on professional wrestling saying, "Oh, it's not real," yada yada, I'm like, but you still have to have it in you. You still have to. It's just like being an athlete in any other sport. Just because it's scripted doesn't mean you don't bleed for it. You don't hurt from it.
You don't freaking hurt yourself.
Like
it's smacked.
Like the thing is like, are you taught how to protect yourself? Yeah, just like any sport. Any sport, you're taught how to protect yourself. And so in wrestling, certain moves that you take, you're taught how to protect yourself, how to take certain bumps, how to take certain punishment from a wrestler, how to react to situations. You are taught the same things in professional sports that you're taught in pro wrestling. So what's taught, and the thing is, you can watch videos of what it looks like inside a pro wrestling gym. Those guys are training just as hard, if not harder, than your favorite pro athlete who's an actual athlete, quote unquote. So I could sit here all day and talk about all my favorite guys growing up, or all my favorite matches growing up, or anything like that. But we would be here for like 10 hours. But the one thing I do want people to take away is that, listen, wrestling does have, and the thing is, there's other things, other programs that can teach wrestling more than I could. Like if you really want to understand how much you have to sacrifice for wrestling and how it takes its toll on people, I would suggest watching Dark Side of the Ring. That's a great series because Dark Side of the Ring talks about the rise and fall of some of the greatest wrestlers to ever grace the business. Macho Man Randy Savage, Bruno Sammartino, the list goes on. And the narrator for most of it, I don't know if he still does it now because it's still an ongoing series, unfortunately, because you don't want to hear about tragic stories. But the sad thing is, and this is actually true, and this is why I sent you that John Oliver video about him talking about professional wrestling and all that stuff.
I'm loving those videos that you're sending me, by the way. Keep them coming. That's awesome. I'm learning so much.
The sad thing is, and people don't realize this for a quote unquote, fake sport and whatnot, the lifespan of a professional wrestler is far shorter than anything else in the United States. It's far shorter than that.
Like you're done. You might be what? It's like you might live until you're like 55, 60 if you're lucky. If you're lucky.
You like, and the thing is like, you have your exceptions. You have your Hulk Hogan's, you have your Ric Flairs, whatever. But it's very few and far between. A lot of wrestlers die in their 50s and 60s. It is what it is because like
there's multiple that you hear that died at 28, 29, 30. 35, 40 years old. A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
a lot of good ones too.
And people don't talk about it enough. And I know it's a very taboo thing to talk about, but it's also a thing that back in the day, they, especially back in the late 90s, early 2000s, even into the mid 2000s, they didn't talk about the health and wellness of a wrestler, of wrestlers in general. And if you want to understand how much someone can go through and how much wrestling takes its toll on people, and I'm sure a lot of people, this transcends wrestling, but the name Chris Benoit and that awful story, that his rise and fall, because that is probably the saddest story and the most probably disturbing story in professional wrestling, really in any kind of sports period. And because they say, like, oh, we talk about CTE in football and in very heavy contact sports. CTE is very prevalent in wrestling. It's
Very.
like, even if you put your hands up to block an opponent's punch, kick, or you go to put your hands up to block them from throwing you into the wall, your body and your head are still taking that impact, and you're still feeling
trauma.
it.
The trauma.
You're still feeling the trauma from it. So, and now, mind you, back in the day, before they kind of, did the whole health and wellness policies and
it's
really
not great. It's better, but it's not great.
It's still not great. But before they really pushed the health and wellness of wrestlers, like, kind of to a higher priority, back then, you should see it, and I think a scoop. I don't know how you'll react to it, but the guys taking the chair shots off their heads.
Oh my god! Because the chair shots are crazy.
That especially back in the late 90s, early 2000s, during the Attitude Era, when those guys took chair shots, that wasn't the sound of the chair hitting their hand. Those gunshot sounds of the chair are their skulls.
Head. So, yeah, like Scoop. Literally, you can go back on YouTube, and it's literally just a guy taking a chair, a ladder,
a metal folding chair, mind you,
a metal foldable chair, or a metal ladder, and imagine you getting smacked in the head, square in the head, with a metal whatever. It hurts.
Now, and
it ain't something they just do.
And mind you, some wrestlers have even, like, and this is the case of, and now Stone Cold Steve Austin is known as one of, if not the greatest professional wrestler ever. But
try his beer. I'm just gonna say really quick. I haven't tried his beer yet, and I'm kind of pissed I haven't.
But the thing is with Stone Cold, his career was cut about 5 years, maybe even 10 years short, because Owen Hart of the famous Hart family, God rest his soul, because he's another one that died in a very tragic way in wrestling. But he gave Steve basically a sit-down, I believe it was a sit-down pile driver. And the problem is, this is what happens when you don't have a guy who, like, a momentary lapse in judgment or a mistake can almost kill you. Because in a pile driver, you're taught to not drop the opponent. Yeah, we're gonna end soon anyway.
I just wanted to double check, because I don't want you to go on forever. I want to add another thing to this in the future.
But basically, and how fickle life kind of is, and how crazy it is. But he does a sit down pile driver, and basically drops Steve on his head and neck, and and Steve said that for about 10-15 minutes, I believe about 10-15 minutes. I don't know if it was longer or a little bit shorter, but he said that he went complete. The second he was dropped, body completely numb, couldn't feel anything, thought he was paralyzed, and Owen had to stall, basically to like kind of mock the crowd and whatnot, to kind of take the attention away from Steve being hurt, and so. It does happen, but that incident shortened Steve's career by about 5 or 10 years, because he thought for about a brief second there he was going to be paralyzed from the neck down. It dropped him straight on his head. So,
Unbelievable, dude.
You can see so many moments like that, but the history of wrestling is there's so many things I can get into. There's so many different storylines I can get into. And I'll send you guys those clips every so often. But wrestling is very important, and I wish people would understand how important it actually is and how much it is very serious and the respect it deserves. Put it that way.
Scoop, do you have any final thoughts on what Brandon has brought us with this? Do you think that this segment was good? Did you learn something?
That was a lot. I'm probably going to go back and rewatch it just to kind of try and understand it and process it better. Just because I thought that was a lot. Because again, I've never watched a single wrestling match in my life. But I mean, obviously you guys know a ton about it, and I know you guys really enjoy it. So, I mean, I literally said to, I think it was Rob earlier today, like I straight up, like, I've heard the term, like like in a literal sense, I've heard the term WrestleMania before. I couldn't have written you 2 sentences about what it was.
Yeah, that's kind of, the thing is, I always knew growing up what WrestleMania was. But when I started actually watching WrestleMania, I was like, oh, I get this. I get it.
And everything I've heard about WrestleMania is not everything. I shouldn't say everything, but most of what I've heard about WrestleMania recently was from watching videos that Ventura was talking about it, and it wasn't even about the wrestling itself. It was about the royalty issues and the controversy about wrestling unions and things of that nature.
Right, but and that's part of it, obviously. But WrestleMania, man, even someone who doesn't even, I don't have time to watch wrestling. There's a lot of events, there's a lot of things going on. Even I am hyped for it. I'm like, oh, okay, we got to check this out. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. But Scoop, thanks for letting me kind of spearhead that, because I really wanted Brandon to talk about it these next couple of weeks before the big event. So I really appreciate you letting us do that. Thanks for letting me hop in a little bit late today and get I
was glad you were able to make it. Obviously we're gonna miss you tomorrow, but and I've said before on this show, and I continue to emphasize it, that if one of you guys wants to talk about F1 or wrestling or MLS or anything else where I don't have a ton of background or a ton of knowledge or a ton from which I can speak myself. I obviously enjoy hearing what you guys have to say and adding a flavor to the show that I would not be able to do on my own.
Yeah. Can I talk about what I did today? Can I actually introduce to people the whole thing that we do up here in our area?
The wiffle ball?
Yeah. Can I talk about it really quick before we go?
What's up?
Okay. So I wanna showcase this because it's pretty cool. So this is a league down in Edmonds, which is close by where I live in Linwood, called AWA Wiffle Ball. They have a YouTube channel and everything else. And these are people with, everyday lives on teams doing wiffle ball out of this guy's backyard. The stadium, and Brandon has seen it. It's literally done off this guy's backyard, and Shane and I once to 3 times a week go to this guy's house and literally go to this guy's house and do broadcasting for this. And this is a great view of the current arena or the current stadium. This is a guy's house, Scoop, mind you. This is a guy's house. Look at this. It's a guy's house. And that's their backyard. And we play wiffle ball once to 3 times a week during the summer and early fall. Isn't that incredible?
I gotta tell you,
you can sit up there.
It's still hard.
It's incredible.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, the picture quality is not great. but from what I can tell, it does. I mean, it obviously looks really cool, and to be able to do that in your backyard, I mean, the guy clearly did a lot. He and whoever helped him clearly put a lot of time and effort into constructing that for y'all.
Yeah, and then I'm sure you know this, Scoop. Do you remember Trevor May?
Of course.
Yeah, he is a big as well. He played in the league. I think he still does play from time to time. He literally paid for us to have like a club area where people can sit down and have and just chill out in the backyard and have a beautiful view. He literally used his own money to install that for us or to help, which is incredible.
That's amazing. Speaking of Trevor May, if anybody wants to go and listen to because he retired about 2 or 3 years ago, if anybody wants to go listen to different elements about him talking about just having been a major league ball player and some of the behind the scenes there, and talking about his career and both on and off the field elements of being a major league baseball player, he does a fantastic YouTube channel that I highly would recommend going and checking out. The name of it's escaping me right now, but just search him up and you'll find it.
It's I forgot what it's called. It's called Mayday. Mayday is his network.
Okay.
It's territory network now. From
I love Foul Territory.
But yeah, he literally does that. He does those podcasts in my local area, in the Seattle area.
That's so freaking cool.
He's grown up here, so
yeah,
I've got to meet him and work with him on several projects. Same with Shane as well, obviously AWA, but documentaries and different things. So yeah, I've been very lucky to work with him in very close proximity. I know that we've tried to get him on the shows and stuff, but he's been incredibly busy with Mayday, and rightfully so. Anyway.
You know who you gotta try to get on there whenever he's done this season? Trevor Bauer. See if he wants to do it.
I know he would love to do it. I'm positive.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, he has played. He's know what? If you want to see the difference between throwing baseball and throwing a wiffle ball, watch Trevor May do it, because it's way different. It's way different. The ball, obviously. It's way different.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to shout that out. We do games Monday through Wednesday, depending on the week. awawiffle.com. Go check us out over there. It's incredible, man. And Shane and I are to be part of that production team, and that's why I came in late today. Just doing production for them in literally. Basically, in their living room is the whole production area. We have, everything you can imagine that's on an NFL broadcast. We have pretty much. It's pretty incredible. So, and then obviously you can see me do sideline. I've done sideline for them for now 4 years. Same with Shane, doing production. So I just thought I shot that out really quick.
That's
for
awesome.
Any of you who want to see more of the stuff that we do outside of this, outside of the K&K network, that's one of our major projects that we do as well. So I figured I shout that out before we go, because that is why I'm late, and that is why I literally, unfortunately, I don't like eating during any of our shows, but I was starving. I couldn't have survived. So I apologize, Scoop, but I really would have fallen asleep on this desk if I didn't have this.
Yeah, no, we don't need that. And also getting lightheaded when you're hungry and whatnot is an awful feeling. Definitely wanted to, totally understand. I'm glad that you were able to make it on, since I know tomorrow you've got other commitments.
Yeah. Orthodox Easter celebration. Gonna be really interesting. At least I think. I'm still planning, but yeah. And then next week, starting on Friday, keep an eye on the What's the Same page, because I'll be posting a lot of stuff on there the next days. I'm going to the Mariners game. I'm going to U.S. Women versus Japan. I'm going to a Sounders game next weekend. Everything's going to be up there, and we'll also make sure to describe my experiences on this show. But all of that stuff, and that's what you saw previously with my UFC stuff that I did the last few weeks. Everything's going to be up there. for you all to see just kind of our adventures doing stuff. So I figured I'd just plug
Do we
those
have?
really quick
Sorry.
before we go.
Do we
Yes.
have anything to say yet on that front regarding the show, or not yet? What you and I have been discussing.
Oh, no, because I have been massively delayed.
Okay.
Because my computer is crashing and breaking trying to get this thing done. Just know that it is halfway done.
Yeah.
We're basically 60 to 70% done. And when it gets announced, it's going to be really cool. I'm also doing the same thing for the New York Giants pod here with Kenny. I'm doing the exact same thing that I'm doing for Scoop. So just be patient. I apologize, Scoop. It's really taken longer than I thought it would.
No worries.
Very, very hard.
I know you are, and
done,
I thank you 1,000 times over. That's something that I very much wanted to do on my own, and definitely could not do it on my own. So thank you very much for being involved in leading that, and extremely excited to be able to, once that opportunity does present itself, to be able to talk more about that.
Yeah, it's going to be really. We're very, very excited. There's a bunch of things in the works. Do you want me to say what we're doing for football after hours on Saturday, just so I don't forget? Do you want me to plug that really quick, Scoop, of what we're going to do on Saturday?
Go for it, because go for it.
So Saturday, obviously during the Masters, because I think we're doing it, around 4 Eastern. I know it's during the Masters. We'll make sure to keep you updated on everything going on at Augusta National.
Mm-hmm.
We normally would do a show after the Masters ends, but other things precluded that on my end. But so we'll keep you updated on that. We are going to basically do about 30 to 40 minutes on everything that's going on with Diana Rossini right now. It has been an absolute mess. So we're going to open the show. That way, get more information about it by the time we get to Saturday, because I heard a bunch of different things that I don't know are true or not. Most are untrue, from what I've heard. But aside from that, we will probably do about 30 to 40 minutes on that. Then Shane's whiteboard number 3. More intense things, and then we didn't have time because I want to watch it as a group, the Captain Alex movie that Fran and I love so much. We're gonna do that this week. We couldn't, time precluded it. But we will do that later in the month, early next month. So we're doing Knives Out. I just picked up the movie on DVD. I figured since Scoop hasn't seen it, I feel like Scoop will love this movie, just how his brain works. I think he will just absolutely love it. So
I remember
Knives Out 1, the first movie.
I remember you telling me that. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so the first Knives Out movie, which is honestly I think a classic now, because I think it came out 2018, 2019. So Knives Out 1, we're gonna talk about that and everything else. I think the be on Netflix for you to check, but I believe it is.
Okay.
So I'll let you know.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's our plugs for today. I know we went long, but I'm very happy that Brandon, I know he just loves that stuff. So thank you guys, by the way, for handling things while I've been absolutely insanely busy this week. So thank you guys so much for that. And thank you to all of us tuning in. We also in the works for FAH that you're going to see on Saturday. Which I won't spoil, but yeah. So, thank you guys, and by the way, for you two, Scoop and Brandon, have a great show tomorrow. Enjoy it, have a good time. So,
thank you very much. Yeah. Brandon, I'll share this real quick. We're going to be doing a collaboration tomorrow, kind of a crossover episode. We're going to be for those of y'all who have seen you've seen me and Brandon, I think you've been on there once or twice.
Twice.
Yeah, we've done a couple of shows over on a show that our friends have done on hockey. It's called Shift Change, and we'll be collaborating with them tomorrow to kind of have a crossover episode between WTS and Shift Change. And I'm really excited because it's the first time I've ever been able to talk about a hockey team that I follow getting into a position to potentially make the playoffs. I still don't know how I'm going to do that because I'm not used to it. So, but
isn't that fun, man? That's fun. Have a good time with that, guys.
I've been a Flyers fan since I was 19, and I've never really. I didn't know the playoffs was something that was in our realm of consciousness. So I'm still getting used to it.
How do you think I feel? We've missed the playoffs 11 out of the last 14 years.
Didn't you guys either win?
How do you think I feel?
Didn't you guys either
in the
win?
NHL much?
Didn't you guys either win? I'm talking to Brandon. Didn't you guys either win or go to the Stanley Cup in the last 10 years?
Not 10 years, but 2011, 2012 season, we made the Stanley Cup final.
I was 20. I was 2011. I think you were 2012, my friend.
Yep.
I'm saying
the 11-12 season.
Yeah. 2011. That's the year the Canucks had the. That's the year the Canucks had the riots, right? Or the more recent ones.
That literally is the reason I'm still a fan. I love that. I was debating being a Kraken fan, but I was like, I can't. No way. I'm not gonna leave the crew that blew up Vancouver for 2 days for the players and my own sins. I'm not gonna do that. So until I die.
Yeah, no, that definitely sounds like something that a certain fan base in the 215 area code would do. But all right, we've been on for 2 hours. It is now 1:20 a.m. where Brandon is, and it's after midnight here. Rob, I think it's about lunchtime where you are.
No, it's I'm about to do a little work and go to bed. I have to get up super early tomorrow, and it's Masters. Oh, it's Masters, so I'm gonna be just watching and listening to as much
stuff for that too.
Oh
yeah. The stuff out too.
Yeah, Rob, where did you send it to me again? Because I was trying to find it earlier, I couldn't find it. I know you sent it to me. I just don't remember where.
I'll send it to you individually. I'll send it to you guys individually so you have it.
All right, where am I going to look? Where am I going to look for this? Because we have 9 different ways of communication.
I got it. It's still in there.
I know. It's still a group chat, but I will send it to you individually right after we get off air, Scoop. So don't worry. I'll send it to you right away. So you're good.
All right.
But yeah, we're doing a little Masters competition with our boy Kenny. Just a little fun time. We'll talk about that more on Saturday. Because
I've never done fantasy golf before. Didn't know fantasy golf was even a thing. So I'm very curious to see how this goes.
The way that they do fantasy golf for the Masters is really fun because you have to pick a first-time golfer, a former champion, international golfer, an American golfer. You have to pick 4 or 5 golfers, and you can change them after every round.
What the frack?
If a guy is change it to them. So it's really fun. It's a really good time. Anyway, peace. See you, boys.
Have a good night, y'all. Thursday, Brandon and I will see you tomorrow with a few of our. Brandon and I will see you tomorrow with a few of our friends over on Shift Change for that crossover episode, and the 3 of us will reconvene next week on the 15th of April for another episode of the weekly Major League Baseball recap. Have a good night.